Hi, everyone. My name is Anna Bledsoe, and I'm here with my colleague, Kalo Obasi. We are from VOA's Prevention Services program, which seeks to equip program participants with the skills, knowledge, and confidence necessary to make healthy decisions. We are here today to give you a very brief introduction to problem gambling and debunk some of the common myths around this issue, as there are many misconceptions that exist. Today, we will talk briefly with you about what problem gambling is, signs of problem gambling, guidelines for responsible gambling, and some common myths about the issue. March is Problem Gambling Awareness Month, and this year's theme is Awareness plus Action. In the US, 2 million adults, so about 1% of the population, are estimated to meet criteria for severe gambling problems each year, with another 4 to 6 million, so that's approximately 2 to 3%, considered to have mild or moderate gambling problems, and many more people are affected by an individual's gambling problem than that. The goal of Problem Gambling Awareness Month is to increase public awareness of problem gambling and the availability of prevention, treatment, and recovery services, and to encourage healthcare providers to screen clients for problem gambling, as well as encourage others affected by problem gambling to take action. If you or someone you know may have a gambling problem or you have concerns about that issue, you may call the Oregon hotline at 1-800-MyLimit or get help online at www.1800mylimit.org. In Oregon, help and treatment is free, confidential, and it works. Gambling is defined as risking money or something of value in the hopes of obtaining something of greater value. There are many different types of gambling. Gambling includes, but is not limited to, lottery games, sports betting and fantasy sports, card and dice games, betting on games of skill, paying for loots or skins in a video game, and more. It is also important to note that gambling does not always occur with money and that people bet with other things as well, usually things that they consider to be of value. And what people perceive to be of value can vary from person to person and also at any given time. People could gamble anything from a candy bar to a vehicle. The National Council on Problem Gambling defines problem gambling as gambling behavior patterns that compromise, disrupt, or damage personal, family, or vocational pursuits. Before we get any further, I want to make it clear that we perceive gambling to be a neutral activity. By neutral, we mean that we do not perceive it as being good or bad. Like other things, gambling can make both positive and negative contributions to someone's life. For example, gambling might be a fun source of entertainment for some, which may be positive, but it can also be negative. For example, gambling can become addictive. While gambling can be positive or negative, it's important that people understand that gambling is an activity that carries risk. For some people, gambling can become problematic. Just like alcohol consumption, where some people can engage in drinking recreationally without it escalating to a problematic level, gambling is similar. Some people are unable to engage in gambling without it becoming problematic, and it is important to raise awareness about the fact that gambling is an activity that carries risk. There's a real lack of data around problem gambling, and as far as we know, there's not consistent data collected on this issue nationally or in Oregon on a frequent basis. But based on the 2016 Oregon Adult Gambling Behaviors Survey, 43.4% of adult Oregonians do not gamble, 48.6% gamble but do not experience gambling-related problems, and 8% experience problems along the continuum ranging from low to severe. It is estimated that 2.6% of the adult population in Oregon experiences moderate or serious problems with gambling. It is also important to note that those who do gamble may move in and out of problematic gambling periods throughout their lives. Research indicates that most adults who choose to gamble can do so responsibly. As far as youth go, it's important to note that youth do gamble. Results from the 2016 Oregon Adolescent Prevalence Study show that 55% of Oregon adolescents have gambled. Youth who engage in other risky behaviors, such as drinking alcohol and smoking, are also more likely to gamble. While problem gambling signs and symptoms may differ from person to person, some signs and symptoms may include an increasing preoccupation with gambling, a need to bet more money more frequently, chasing losses, that is, betting even more to try to recover from previous losses, losing interest in other things, which may accompany performance issues in personal and professional lives, a loss of control of gambling despite negative consequences, restlessness or irritability when trying to stop gambling, lying about gambling habits to other people, or even trying to convince oneself that their habits are not causing problems, and gambling alone and or gambling more often. Our goal in problem gambling prevention is not to prevent gambling, but instead to prevent problem gambling and addiction. One way in which we seek to do this is to inform people about some ways in which they can gamble mindfully and responsibly, which may help reduce the development of problem gambling. We do want to mention that it is recommended that youth do not gamble, as it predisposes them to problem gambling as they get older. Here we have listed some guidelines for responsible gambling as outlined by the Oregon Problem Gambling Resource, which is a statewide problem gambling prevention and treatment resource. So first, if you choose to gamble, you should do so for entertainment purposes, not because you're trying to recuperate the money you've lost. Treat the money you lose as the cost of your entertainment, just like you would treat the cost of a ticket to a basketball game or a movie ticket a cost of your entertainment. The money lost to gambling should be treated similarly. Expect to lose. If you gamble through a business, the odds are stacked against you, and it is always set up so that the house wins. Regardless of where or how you gamble, you should never rely on winning anything by gambling and should always expect to lose. Set a dollar limit and stick to it. Do not exceed that limit. Set a time limit and stick to it. Do not borrow money to gamble, and do not gamble on credit. This can be a slippery slope. You should only gamble using funds that are available to you and that you can justify spending for entertainment purposes. Avoid chasing lost money. Gambling more to try to recuperate losses will usually result in losing more money, which could potentially lead to more chasing, creating a vicious cycle that is hard to break. Do not gamble as a way to cope with emotional or physical pain. Gambling should not be used as a coping mechanism and should only be engaged in for entertainment purposes. Make an effort to learn about the warning signs of problem gambling. Watching this presentation is a start. The more you know, the better choices you will make. And finally, work on creating balance in your life. Gambling should not interfere with or be a substitute for friends, family, work, or other worthwhile relationships or activities. So now I'm going to hand it over to Kahlo, who's going to explore a few common myths about problem gambling.
Okay, welcome. Once again, my name is Kahlo. I'm also with the VOA Prevention Services Program. And now we are going to explore a few common myths about problem gambling. The first is going to be that gambling cannot be an addiction because it's not a substance. The fact remains that gambling can be addictive even though it's not a substance. Studies have shown that the release of dopamine during gambling occurs in areas similar to those activated by substance use and can have similar impacts on the brain. For people who experience problem gambling, the behavior results in intense feeling of pleasure that are then sought out over and over again. Like addiction to substances, the person may also increase the tolerance level and seek out bigger treats, such as betting more often or taking bigger risk. This type of escalation can be impactful financially, emotionally, and may be followed with feelings of shame or guilt. Even stopping gambling can result in withdrawal symptoms such as irritability, restlessness, and anxiety. So while gambling is not a substance, it does impact the reward center in the brain and can become addictive. The second myth is that problem gambling is easy to recognize. Also, the fact is that it's not always easy to recognize. In fact, problem gambling is sometimes referred to as the hidden addiction because it's not something that you see with the eyes. Problem gambling can be misunderstood and hard to recognize even by health professionals, and doesn't have initial physical consequences. It may lack many physical signs, like I mentioned, and that might be present in other addictions, and is more likely to fly under the radar, also due to lack of awareness about the issue. As in the case of with other problems, behaviors and addictions, people who experience problem gambling can come from all walks of life and diverse backgrounds. The third one is that the myth that you have to gamble every day to experience problem gambling. Just like the other ones, the fact is that people who experience problem gambling may gamble frequently or infrequently. If a person's gambling is causing psychological or financial, emotional, marital, legal, or other difficulties for him or herself and the people around him, then he or she has a gambling problem. The fourth one is a problem. Gambling is not a problem if the gambler can afford it. Also, the fact is that the problems caused by excessive gambling are not just financial. If a person gambling is interfering with his or her ability to act in accordance with their value, or it affects their feelings of self-worth or emotional states, then there is likely a problem. For example, too much time spent on gambling means less time spent with family, friends. Others can lead to relationship breakdown and loss of important friendship. Another myth is that children are not affected by problem gambling. This is not true. Because surveys have shown that 8% to 15% of American and Canadian youths have experienced gambling-related problems, and 1 to 6% of these individuals may satisfy diagnostic criteria for pathological gambling. Additionally, children of people who experience problem gambling are also likely to experience negative impact associated with the issue, such as impact on their own well-being and relationships. According to Prevention Lane, families where the parents gamble are twice as likely to have at-risk adolescents, gamblers, and 4 times as likely to have an adolescent person with problem gambling. So there are many resources that exist out there for problem gambling. The Oregon Gambling Resources, OPGR, is an Oregon-based resources with prevention and treatment resources. Their website include a live chat feature, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday to Friday, a helpline, text message options, a meeting and a treatment directory, as well as other helpful resources for both gamblers and others, such as their loved ones. Voices of Problem Gambling Recovery is an organization that devotes to education, advocacy, and extending a hand of reward to those who are striving for recovery from problem gambling. Their website includes resources for peer support, events, and other recovery resources. National Council on Problem Gambling also hosts programs and resources, help and treatment training and certification news, and more on their website. If you are looking for more resources or would like to learn more about our program or request a presentation, you can contact Anna Blesso on the phone number or email address below. We would love to get in touch and connect with you. Thank you for watching.